I also want to put in a little word for Raleigh Square, 2 Raleigh Square, the house that Mum married into and she has taken care of so well over the years. She is utterly dedicated, to the Bramley apple tree, to the raspberries, to the garden and so forth, and also to the house. But it's been a wonderful house of hospitality, of communications, a communication centre that has recently gone to wireless in the computer age.
Isn't it? 22nd of March night, 2003, isn't it? Yeah. That's a beautiful, beautiful day. And I'm feeling very well. And I've just started to get the garden in order. And the gardener was here twice this week and all the seeds are in the pots ready to transfer to the garden. And I've just had a session with my friend playing my duets, the piano. And just had a nice long conversation with David and all his news. My kitchen. I've grown to love my house over the years and I hope I never have to leave it. This is my dining room and there's my motto, Dumpus Bone Joy. And I'm very, very grateful person for all my blessings and I'm lucky to have my health and to be financially secure at 84. But one never knows how long one can be like this. I have 3 great-grandchildren and last summer I went to visit Gillian on the farm and they had come over for a holiday there. And they're wonderful little personalities, very clever little boys. The eldest is Malta and the next one is Yeba and the youngest is, Ivan, that's what it is. And the eldest is very conscientious and a very kind boy, but the middle one, he's very, very, lots of ideas of his own, but full of personality. And we were watching Snow White one day, and it was quite an event because they have no TV at home. And just to see their faces as they watched the film was quite a delight. And when the witch appeared, they all hid behind the couch. And when the prince appeared, little Yeva said, I feel full of tears, he said. And the delight to watch them, that film was something I'll never forget. And the last day, when I was leaving, his mother said to Yeva, you better give Granny a hug because she's going home today and get yourself dressed. And he didn't want to get himself dressed, so he thought he'd get over the hug, and he was in his pyjamas and he came and he hugged me for quite a long time. I must say, now I've got that over, I can go upstairs again. And but I have an invitation, I can go over to Denmark any time, but I don't feel like travelling much now. And his mother might come over for a few days. When they grow up, I wonder what they're going to do with their lives. One wonders how much of my personality will be in them and future generations, as I am part of my ancestors. And when I think of David, David is the son my father never had. He's the image of him. He looks at life the same way, the same sense of humour. And it's amazing how generation after generation will hand it down certain genetical things that we can't get away from. That's why I suppose we should be careful who we marry. But yes, I've been keeping a diary now for years, and it's in boxes and it's all numbered, and David is in charge of them, and he knows when I die that he has to take them over and edit them, and they must be kept safe, because although we're not a very important family, we're just one of the thousands or millions of family in the world with ordinary histories. And if a great-great-great-grandchild should ever find them in an attic, it would be very interesting as to how we lived and how I thought and what I did. And I know I'd love to find something of my ancestors there. So sometimes I don't feel like doing the diary, but then I remember that it might be important one day. Yes, I realise now at my age that when we make decisions when we're younger, we do not realise that the repercussions into the future, and that that's why every job you do, you should do well, do it perfectly, because there isn't any such thing as a detail. Little things that happen, they tie in and they make your future. That's why one should never be careless. Don't postpone joy. Unless you're present and aware, and whatever's happened to you at the moment, you will lose it. But if you're there and present, you have it forever. That is joy. If you remember what you're doing, you're there. You're experiencing it with all your senses. And that is the right way to do it. That's all we have at the moment. That's a mystery I haven't worked out yet. I'm afraid. That's a mystery I'll die with. I don't know. I mean, one wonders, is it chance, the man you marry, the children you have, or the people you meet, your environment, your education? I mean, how many things are by chance or meant to be? Well, what I believe is that your characteristics are handed down in your children, and that's how you live, maybe in one way. You never die in that way. I'm part of all my ancestors. But it's hard to think. I mean, I was reading the other day about cavemen and how they lived, and it's hard to know, where have they gone? Men who couldn't read or talk much or climb trees. It's very mysterious, all this life business, and the world has been going for millions of years. We gradually come up to how we are now, Homo sapiens, and in another generation or two one wonders what man will be like, but we never seem to have learned. We're still now in the middle of a terrible war again with Iraq. My greatest success in life is that I suppose I have great thankfulness that God preserved me to 84, so that I could see my children settled and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. That is a great gift. There's not many live to see that, live that long. I always put them first and myself second, and I went back to work and I kept this home together, and I'm still in it. And they all love to come here. And I think that's, what I did, I suppose I did my duty. I never looked left or right, I just went ahead and did what I had to do. I never deserted the ship, and I kept us all together and gave some stability that way. The most difficult was when George died, and trying to grasp what had happened. It took me a couple of years to get round that. It was I can't bear to look back on it now.
What actually happened? Could you just describe what happened that evening?
Well, it was Stephen's day, and he'd gone over to collect his parents. It was very, very cold, and when he came in, 1960, and I said, I've no bread, and he went out and got me some bread. Then he went out and took in the clothes on the line. I remember his hands were very cold, and then we all played rummy, and he said, I've got the joker, and to get the joker in rummy is a great thing. And he said, I've never got the joker before. And the next minute, he said, he fell over the table, and he said, it's so sore, clutching his chest. And then he rushed out to the toilet, and everything passed through his bowels. And then Daddy, the sir, brought him upstairs. And then David was in the drawing room reading, and he went up, and he came out on the landing, and I was standing in the hall. He said, Grandpa said he can't find Daddy's pulse. And I went into my mother, who was also reading the drawing, because she didn't play cards, and I said, Daddy, George is dead. And she said, well, Phyllis, I know you exaggerate, but she said, that's the limit. Of course he's not dead. But he was. Alan went up to stay at the rectory till the funeral was over. And it was very wrong of us. We should have let him sing George, and we should have brought him to the funeral so that he knew what was happening, because he was an intelligent kid. And when he came back from the rectory, he said, where's my daddy? And we said, he's dead, he's in heaven. Where's that? He said. And then he got out his money box, said, you can have the money box, Mummy, you won't have any money now. And they were all sitting here looking miserable, my father and mother and the children. And I told Gillian to keep playing with him on the carpet with his bricks. And every so often he'd go into the corner with his back to us and shake with sobs. He took it very hard. one day his daddy was there and the next minute he was. They were very close. He was like his George. He was very like him. And one day he came home from nursery school a few weeks later and he said, I was crying as usual. He says, come to the window, Mum. He said, can you see the sun? And I said, yes. Can you hear the birds? Yes. Could you not look forward and not look backwards, he said. Well, I think to be a man is to be responsible. To be responsible in what you say and do and act, because it all has repercussions later on. In other words, to think before you speak or you act and do the right thing, no matter how hard it is. That's what I would advise them to do. And always to be grateful. Always to have gratitude. Because then you lose the joys that you realise how much they meant to you. That would be my cheek, to be responsible in life and to be grateful and to praise. And also to be compassionate and non-judgmental, because none of us knows the story of the other person. I think if you take time to listen, everyone has a book inside them. If you take time to listen, even the quietest person, you might think there's nothing inside them, you just listen for a bit. There's richness in everyone. And this life is wonderful. I mean, see the spring coming again now, and the garden coming to life. The wonder of nature, everything dies with that, nothing to do with us, it just happens. And then you see all the seasons in a garden. To be a gardener is the most wonderful thing. It really fills you with awe and thankfulness and really mystery. It's so wonderful how everything grows, everything dies. And that's what happens in our lives. We grow and we mature and we die, and then new life comes along. And how it does matter how we live. It matters very much how we live. If we give in, or we're suicidal, or we're miserable, or not grateful, it matters. Because it affects those we leave behind, how we live. We don't think it does, but everything we say or do or think has a ripple, a little ripple. I don't mean that I'm judging Sybil, because poor Sybil suffered so very much. None of us can look into her heart and what she had to suffer. So that one should never judge another. Never. I think I'd like to be remembered as a loving person and a kind person. I've been told I am, but I always tried to be kind. You know, that someone famous said there are 3 things necessary in life: to be kind, to be kind, to be kind. And I always try to be kind. Always. And I always have it on my conscience, so many people worse off than myself. This friend I had today, her sister's chairwoman of the motor neurone disease. Her husband died of it years ago when her children were young. And now she's a whole institution and they have to try and get funds. And I try and give money to that because I feel I'm so lucky, which I did today, because I like to give Christmas and Easter and Lent, you know, try and help others who are less fortunate. I wouldn't have done that years ago. I would only think of myself and giving to my family. But now I've changed in that way. And she was amazed when I gave her 50 again. But you see, I have it, and this is what we should do for those they have an awful job to make ends meet, supplying wheelchairs to these people who never get better. It's a terrible disease. And I changed in that respect. David was always like that, but if I had money, I'd give it to the family. I'd never think there were outside people need it as well. So that I feel I'm growing a bit. But the sad part is you get a little bit of wisdom and then you're about to die, and you only had it when you're younger.